Welcome back to the Cannabis Podcast. Appreciate you being here. And today, I'm excited to talk about something I've been really wanting to talk about on this channel for a very long time, and that is the essential and mysterious endocannabinoid system. Now, I have to ask, I don't want to assume, have you ever heard of the endocannabinoid system? Because I haven't until I started studying cannabis. Like most people, I ask on the street, and I'm sure you might come across it too if you ask them, hey, do you know what the endocannabinoid system or the ECS is? Most people look at you like you just have a tack on your forehead and they don't know what that is. And you start talking about receptors and you lose them because we've never been taught this in school. So today, I would like to let you know, one, I'm not a doctor, so don't take any educational, doctor, financial, I don't know, I'd take financial advice from your doctor, but you know what I mean. Don't take medical advice from me. Ask your doctor. Ask your doctor. That's a good one. Go ask him. Say, excuse me, what do you know about the endocannabinoid system? And tell me what you know. And if he looks at you like you have a tack in your forehead, you might want to get a new doctor because you're about to find out why. So let's do I have a couple articles all from World Health Organization, Harvard, worldhealth.net, and the National Library of Medicine. So these are all actual real medical, and I'm going to pin all articles for you to read, and I'm going to post an hour-long link to a video from a talk at Harvard that you can listen to on your own by an actual doctor talking about this. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Please, if you like being here, smash the like, share it, leave a comment, tell everybody to follow so we beat the overlordic algorithmic things. Okay, so let's get into it. Many of us have heard of some of the transmitter systems within our bodies, such as the sympathetic nervous system, which gives us our flight or fight response. Even fewer have heard of the more recently discovered endocannabinoid system, which is amazing when you consider that the ECS is critical for almost every aspect of our moment-to-moment functioning. The endocannabinoid system regulates and controls many of our most critical bodily functions, such as learning and memory, emotional processing, sleep, temperature control, pain control, inflammatory and immune responses, and eating. The ECS is currently at the center of renewed international research and drug development. So that's a heck of an opening when it says that the endocannabinoid system literally regulates and controls almost everything inside your body, and you haven't even learned about it to the fullest extent that they have. Let's continue. What is it? It comprises a vast network of chemical signals and cellular receptors that are densely packed throughout our brains and bodies. The cannabinoid receptors in the brain, the CB1 receptors, outnumbered many of the other receptor types in the brain. Now, we might get a little technical, but just follow overall. I'll try to just hit some of the button points and let you read it and listen on your own. The receptors act like traffic stops and cops to control the levels and activity of most of the other neurotransmitters. This is how they regulate things by immediate feedback, turning up or down the activity of whichever system needs to be adjusted, whether it's hunger, temperature, or alertness. To stimulate these receptors, our bodies produce molecules called endocannabinoids, which have a structural similarity to molecules in the cannabis plant. The first endocannabinoid that was discovered was named anandamide after the Sanskrit word ananda for bliss. That's interesting. All of us have tiny cannabis-like molecules floating around in our brains. The cannabis plant, which humans have been using for about 5,000 years, essentially works its effect by hijacking this ancient cellular machinery. I am already fascinated. You didn't learn any of this in school. I know you didn't, because I went to school too, and I went to college, and I didn't hear any of this. I had to find it on my own. Anyway, let's continue. A second type of cannabinoid receptor, the CB2 receptor, exists mostly in our immune tissues and is critical to helping control our immune functioning, and it plays a role in modulating intestinal inflammation, contraction, and pain in inflammatory bowel conditions. CB2 receptors are particularly exciting targets of drug development because they don't cause the high associated with cannabis that stimulating the CB1 receptors does, meaning it's more body than brain. Now you're going to start getting into terpenes, what makes it what everybody knows as sativa or indica. Indica is more darker usually. Flower buds, purples, and they're more for the body. They're more for stomach and inflammation, as opposed to the sativas, which are more for the head high, and they give you that bliss that they're talking about. Let's continue. We know that the endocannabinoid system plays a critical role in learning and memory due to several lines of research. The most obvious observation is that one of the main side effects of high dosages of recreational cannabis use is the temporary disruption of short-term memory. Memory returns to normal with abstinence. Interesting. There have also been some sophisticated studies of how humans acutely respond to the administration of THC and the ways in which this alters both their ability to memorize things in the short term and the patterns observed on their functional brain imaging. Now, I'm going to keep going, but this is from harvard.edu, published in 2021, peer-reviewed, etc. And it's telling you right there that, quote, memory returns to normal with abstinence, end quote. So anytime you see an article or a headline that says memory is killed by cannabis use, etc., just refer to this article that says memory returns to normal. Okay. According to the popular writer Michael Pollan, cannabis is one of the plants that humans have cultivated or co-evolved with for thousands of years. This is in part because the act of forgetting plays a valuable role in the ability of our brains to function without being overloaded with data from our senses that we are continually bombarded with. He hypothesizes that if we didn't forget, we wouldn't function, and cannabis helps us do this. The role that the ECS plays in forgetting also opens up opportunities for the treatment of PTSD, a condition in which there are unpleasant, intrusive memories that people can't help but remember, and that cause a whole syndrome of troublesome and dangerous symptoms related to pathological remembering. So what this is kind of saying is that by the act of cannabis helping you forget, it treats your PTSD for those horrible memories that you have burned and embedded in your brain. That so many veterans, not just veterans, children, people of trauma, all the above deal with. Let's continue. The cautionary tale of the drug rimonabant, a drug that blocks the CB1 receptor, is an interesting example of the central role the endocannabinoid system plays in so many crucial functions. That drug was developed as an anti-obesity drug. The thinking was that the ECS controls hunger. We know this because, among other lines of evidence, cannabis gives you, quote, the munchies, right? So if you block the CB1 receptor, it should cause weight loss. Rimonabant, I think that's how you say it, rimonabant, did cause weight loss quite successfully, but because the endocannabinoid system also regulates mood, it had to be withdrawn from the market on an emergency basis because people who were taking it were becoming suicidal. Wow, that's crazy. However, we can imagine a case, as we better understand the complexities of the endocannabinoid system, where we may be able to create a weight loss medication that acts on those cannabinoid receptors that affect weight loss, but that doesn't act on those receptors that control mood. So much to say. Let's keep going before I start on a tangent. Study of the endocannabinoid system was initially focused on attempts to understand and demonize an illegal drug, but new research, not so new research, has since flourished, aka been exposed, into a far more broad-based exploration into what is an astounding, intricate, and far-reaching system by which our bodies learn, feel, motivate, and keep themselves in balance. We are truly at the dawn of an age of discovery of the endocannabinoid system and the development of new medicines that may help alleviate some of the cruelest disease that people and animals suffer from. This is what we talk. This is insanely fascinating. I will post the link to the article on this. This is from health.harvard.edu. And in such a short article, it had so much. It told you that memory comes back with abstinence. It also told you that the endocannabinoid system literally regulates every mood, thought, and feeling in your body and helps you naturally adjust. Now, maybe we haven't, this is just speculation. Let's have fun. Now, maybe we haven't been introduced by the ECS, the endocannabinoid system, because they have siloed all these symptoms and made synthetic drugs for all of these little temporary side effects. Instead of just saying, hey, just let your body do it naturally, because there's no money in that. That's just speculation. I don't want to get banned from this. We already get shadow banned anyway. So that is one quick little article I found from Harvard, which is fascinating. And you can find that article pinned in the comments. Pinned in the description. That's my fault. But also, I want to continue. I found this little nougat. It's called The Endocannabinoid System and Medical Marijuana in 15 Minutes. I'm not going to read this whole thing because it's pretty scientifically dense, and you'd probably turn the show off, as I would. But what I will do is tell you a few of the highlights and some of the questions. But this is from iowa.gov/media. So this is clearly a marketing campaign to educate the masses with awareness, because it's called The Endocannabinoid System in 15 Minutes. In order to fully appreciate the health effects of cannabis, it's essential that one has knowledge of the endocannabinoid system. Therefore, this is a quick primer about the cannabis plant and endocannabinoids and how the components of the cannabis plant interact with your endocannabinoid system. So we just went over the endocannabinoid system, so I'm going to try not to overlap, but the endocannabinoid system is an internal homeostatic system present in all vertebrae that play a critical role in the nervous system and regulates multiple physiological processes, including appetite, digestion, mood, coordination, and other processes. Ooh, coordination, they added that one. It influences everything. It's you can read it for yourself. It literally says it influences everything. I want to go down to this part where it says, in 2017, the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine published the health effects of cannabis and cannabinoids, the current state of evidence and recommendations for research. Did the results of the research indicate that cannabis-based products are effective? Yes, for some conditions. The research committee found that there is inconclusive or substantial evidence that cannabis-based products are effective for the treatment of chronic pain in adults. I don't know why it would be just adults, but we'll just say this is what I'll just read. Chronic pain in adults, as antiemetics in the treatment of chemotherapy-induced nausea and vomiting, so hunger for chemotherapy, for improving patient-reported multiple sclerosis symptoms, so MS. So importantly, after the publication of this report, scientific evidence from a double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled trial showed that CBD is effective in reducing motor seizures in children with Dravet syndrome. So any time that they test this for efficacy on any symptom, it seems like it works. So right here it says the terms cannabis, marijuana, and hemp are often used interchangeably. However, the terms actually have different meanings. What is cannabis? What's marijuana? What is hemp? Is the hemp plant a cannabis plant? These are all great questions that really get lost over time, and especially if you're in a shop working, everyone always comes in and just says, I want weed. That statement is not accurate in so many ways. So cannabis, a genus of flowering plants belonging to the family Cannabisaceae, has been cultivated for thousands of years and used for various purposes. Within the genus are various related plants, and these related plants have the names sativa, indica, ruderalis, and hemp. Other than differences in appearance, cannabis varieties differ by their specific profile of components, terpenes, and phytocannabinoids. Those are things that doctors will get into later. This is just a bird's eye view of what the endocannabinoid system, an introduction 101, if you will. But marijuana, the term, is defined as a substance composed of parts of the plant Cannabis sativa, including the leaves, flowers, seeds, and the resin extracted by any part of the plant. Marijuana contains the THC along with other psychoactive cannabinoids. Hemp is a genetic variant of Cannabis sativa, which has been bred to maximize its fiber content and minimize its phytocannabinoid content, especially THC. So the term hemp means the plant Cannabis sativa L. That's the actual scientific name. And any part of that plant, including the seeds and all derivatives, extracts, cannabinoids, isomers, acids, salts, whether growing or not, with a delta-9 THC concentration of not more than 0.3% on a dry weight basis. That's usually the Farm Bill and all these laws that you see floating around each state for hemp THC-9. It means you can't have more than 0.3% of THC. Otherwise, it's classified as cannabis, marijuana, or marijuana as opposed to hemp. So, that being said, this is a great answer page. It says, please post and share. You got it. I will do it. This is from iowa.gov, which is fascinating. It's from in Iowa. Please read about this. I don't want to bore you with the, all these terms and, all that kind of stuff. But what I do want to touch on is really what the endocannabinoid system does as a key player in healthy aging and longevity. So key areas where it supports healthy aging are inflammation and immune function, neurological health and cognitive function, sleep quality, circadian rhythms, pain management and mobility, and a lot of things that have to do with muscles, memory, and cells. All of it is way above my pay grade, which is currently nothing. So do the research on your own. Always do your own research. I'm not a doctor. Don't take anything because we talk about it here. Always do your own research and ask your doctor or physician if using cannabinoids, which are already naturally occurring in your body, is smart. So when you get high, when you smoke cannabis and you get high, you're elevating your THC levels above the rest of them. Think of it like a bar graph where you have all these 300 to 400 compounds in your body, but yet you're elevating one of them specifically, and so you feel that bliss, that high feeling. And then you come down, and then you kind of morph back into your normal state because your bar of endocannabinoid THC is coming down to normal. Now, I didn't do that study. I'm just, as a longtime consumer, guessing that that's how it works through trial and error, which, listen to your bodies. But basically, the conclusion is the endocannabinoid system represents a frontier in our understanding of healthy aging, offering insights into biological mechanisms that were unknown just a generation ago. I would say they were known. I would say they were unknown to the general population for whatever reason. As research continues to unveil the complex relationships between the system, function, and longevity, we gain valuable tools for approaching the aging process with greater knowledge and intentionality. The evidence clearly demonstrates that maintaining optimal endocannabinoid system function throughout life may be one of the most important factors in determining how gracefully we age. That's a very, very poignant statement. From supporting cognitive health and managing inflammation to promoting quality sleep and natural pain management, the endocannabinoid system touches virtually every aspect of the aging experience. As longevity research advances, the system will likely emerge as an increasingly important target for interventions designed to extend health span, the number of years we live in good health. By understanding and supporting this biological network, we hold the keys to just not living longer, but living better throughout our extended years. So, the people that are really studying the endocannabinoid system are really waving the green flag of, yo, this is where it's at. This is the bee's knees. We have to highlight this. You can isolate endocannabinoids. Imagine this. Imagine you had a cellular dysfunction, and you have, pain here or arthritis or whatever, and you could somehow plug in the chemical equation to fix that based on whatever compound we isolate. I don't know. That sounds very scientific and very cool to me. I would rather have a naturally functioning body than one that is full of pills for this symptom, that symptom, and the other symptom that are also killing your guts and your livers and just people in general. So, the next time you're at your doctor, look at him and say, hey, tell me about the endocannabinoid system. And I really hope, for both of your sakes, that he somewhat or she somewhat knows something about the endocannabinoid system and is starting to research it more, because the biggest topic, the biggest issue I see going forward that's holding this all back is the dissemination of accurate, good medical information to the general population that's accurate about the endocannabinoid system. How are you going to re-educate all these doctors? I mean, they're very smart. They'll get it pretty quick. But it's almost like if they don't, let's say 60, 70% of the doctors, that's wild. That's wild. But let's just say a lot of doctors don't know about this. Think about the emotion they would have when they learn about it and go, I have been lied to my whole life. It seems like we have a lot of that going on. So I hope that's not the case. And I hope you, whoever is listening, do a little bit more research on the endocannabinoid system, because it is absolutely everything going on in your body, from sunup to sundown and even while you sleep. So, thank you for joining us here on the Cannabis Podcast. I've been wanting to talk about that for a long time. All the articles are pinned in the description. Please watch the video from this Harvard doctor. It's about an hour long, probably pretty dense. But he is a doctor and I am not. So, with that being said, thank you for being here. I appreciate your time. Please like, subscribe, do all that cool stuff. But most importantly, stay blessed and don't forget to tip your bud tenders.